Hey YouTube, welcome back to Tinker with Tools. Tonight, we're going to try and answer the question of how inexpensive is too inexpensive for a cordless drill. This is actually a viewer requested review, so let's go ahead and get right into that on Tinker with Tools. Now, a few weeks ago, user Burning Straw 1523 requested that I review the new Black & Decker Reviva line, or Reviva line, however you want to say it. When he first described it to me, my initial reaction was more likely to be something along the lines of, "How about new?" But after giving it some consideration, I decided to go ahead and pick it up and see what was to it. Now, the main reason for this is because sometimes it's important to go ahead and answer the question of if something in this price range is worth buying or if you're worth spending your money elsewhere. This is their 3/8 inch cordless drill driver. It is a 12-volt tool. This is not intended for real heavy-duty use. Their specs clearly state that. It's rated at 231 inch-pounds or 230, something like that. 550 RPM. It's a single-speed, variable speed trigger, only 3/8 inch chuck. It is non-ratcheting in that chuck. Now, if I'm being honest, the lackluster specs on this tool are not actually what kind of had me less excited to try it, but more the form factor of it. Especially the first time I picked it up out of the box, it was very apparent that this is not a tool that had much consideration given to ergonomics. Whether it is the slippery and shiny plastic that they have all over it, the lack of rubber overmolding on the handle, and just the overall design that just doesn't seem to be very well balanced or ergonomic in any way, shape, or form. There is just a lot that stands out as being unappealing about this tool. And then we start to talk about some of the things I really have issues with. The fact that this is, like I said, a 12-volt battery, but it is non-removable. It is inside the tool, and you simply charge by plugging into this barrel jack at the back. So if it dies in the middle of your job, there is no backup battery that you can have off to the side. If this battery diminishes, you can't just simply buy a new battery and have the tool still working. And so this starts to feel like something that is more disposable versus something that is good for the environment, which is what is their big claim with this line. The Reviva or Reviva line is that it uses 50% recycled materials in the plastics of the tool. I'm all for being conscientious about the environment and making sure to recycle where you can, but unfortunately, if you take those recycled materials and put them into something that just doesn't make a lot of sense, that's where it starts to feel like you're doing more damage than good. Next up is what I'll consider to kind of be some of the more anti-consumer things. As I mentioned, the battery is non-removable. The barrel plug that you have on this charger is actually proprietary, and so it's not like you can just go replace it easily. You'd have to go back to Black & Decker and buy another one of these. And so although I think their mission of trying to be more environmentally friendly is admirable, the way that they're going about it and the product that they're putting forth for it just seems like it's missing the mark. Let's go ahead and see what we're going to be running against and talking about how we're going to do the testing today. Now, the first thing that I went out and purchased is this. This is from Hypertough over at Walmart. This is not even half as much as what that Black & Decker drill is. And they're very similar on paper. This is a 3/8 inch 12-volt cordless drill driver. Both are non-ratcheting chucks and both kind of are terrible. This one has 700 RPMs to the 550 here, but it has roughly half the torque at only 130 inch-pounds of torque compared to about the 230 here. Everything else about the tool right off the bat feels more appealing. You do have a removable 12-volt battery. The grip and position of your hand on the tool and balance of the tool feels much more natural. And for under $20, you can get this. You can get another battery for roughly $24, or just go ahead and buy another one of these drills, have one upstairs, have one downstairs, and have the two batteries that way. And that just makes this one much more usable. Now, the other drill I purchased today, we're going to try and stay mature about the title. This is the DCK. Now, if you're not familiar with this company, they're sold on Amazon. Now, this was introduced to me over on a couple of different tool channels. Mostly I saw it over at Torque Test channel, where they tested it and actually had a decently favorable opinion of it, especially for the price point. Now, what you're getting with this is a real step up in terms of performance with this tool. This is going to be a 1/2 inch cordless drill driver. It does have significantly more performance though at 2,000 RPMs out of a 2-speed gearbox, all metal ratcheting chuck that feels substantially better and holds on to your bits. Now, in addition, you are getting a much bigger 20-volt battery that is going to be 4 amp hours. And so already out of the gate, you're getting significantly better runtime out of it. This in standard pricing is roughly $73, but several times since I purchased it, I got it for $37.99, and several times since then, you've been able to get it for roughly $40 to $45. So if you're patient with this one, you can go ahead and get it for cheaper than what you paid for this drill. All right, so now we've gone through what the three competitors are. Let's go ahead and talk about the testing we're going to be doing. They make a couple of performance claims, and we're going to be testing kind of in the same realm or wheelhouse of those claims. I'm not going for broke in terms of the power and performance of these tools. I'm being realistic about what you're going to be using these for, and so that's why we're sticking a little bit lower. We might have just killed the Black & Decker. All right, so there you have the testing, and I honestly can't say that given what we talked about we were going to test, that I thought one of these tools was going to end up not functioning very well. Now, in fairness, it does work some of the time still, but not nearly reliable enough for you to be able to count on this tool. But let's talk about how it did in the performance before it broke down. Right out of the gate, if all you're doing is like I said, flat pack furniture assembly and things like that, the occasional screw into a wall or into a cabinet door or something, this is going to be sufficient for your needs. But my problem with it is when we pushed it even just a little bit more, it ended up breaking. I've tried charging it. I've tried doing everything to get this to work. And so at the end of the day, if nothing else about this tool was wrong, I still wouldn't recommend it because we had a bad experience in terms of it breaking when doing even something remotely larger. But even with all that, it still has all the other things that I talked about with this tool that make it unappealing to me. The ergonomics, the lack of removable battery, the non-standard barrel jack charger that you have to buy a proprietary one if you lose it, and the price point you're paying. It was the most expensive of these three drills. That's where this one just doesn't get a recommendation at all. Now, when talking about the HyperTough, that is where I think you start to see some real potential that if you are in a bind or you just need something to get by for a couple of screws over a weekend or something, 1977, this little HyperTough is your choice in my opinion, because it definitely has equal performance, pretty much, maybe just a little bit less torque than everything the Black & Decker did, but it did some stuff just a whole lot nicer, and the ergonomics are phenomenal compared to that tool. This is not a world beater of a tool. The fact that you can get spare batteries for it, the fact that I pushed it to do the same 13/16 drill bit, and although it cut out frequently, I was able to keep pushing it and eventually make it through roughly 2 inches of material. Now clearly, if you need a little bit more performance, out of these three tools, the DCK is the clear winner here. I don't think that was necessarily in question. I think what's interesting though is that this is starting to feel like a really good tool for some of the more entry-level brands that you're getting like Ryobi and Craftsman. In fact, compared to their brushed models, this one could be cheaper and certainly delivers better performance. Even if you're going to something like Harbor Freight and talking about that brushed Bauer model, I think this one is nicer and it certainly is of similar quality to those tools. And the fact that you're able to get a really nice capacity battery at that price point sometimes, that's where this one really starts to make sense. Then when they start throwing in bit sets and everything, this really is just clearly the performance winner tonight. I don't have any issues recommending it from an initial quality and a performance standpoint. Now obviously long-term durability, that's something yet to be seen with it, but I can tell you that this one's going to be sticking around the shop and will get used from time to time. And I think if I gave this to someone in addition to maybe another drill and said, which one do you like more? There is nothing that stands out about this tool that is objectionably bad. And so for that reason, this one really seems like quite a good purchase, especially if you can get it at one of those sales or discounted prices. Now, when it comes to buying tools, I get that not everyone has a limitless budget or can just go out and afford to buy the best or even necessarily want to go out and buy something of a really high price point, even though if they know it's going to be a nicer tool. And so sometimes being able to find that diamond in the rough and find something that's going to get the job done for you at a price that you can stomach or afford, that is important. So I do think it's good to test these tools. If I could offer up just a few tips to anyone who's looking to buy tools, the few things that I'll say is the more patient you can be in buying tools, the more you can take advantage of different sales and different ways of getting tools for cheaper. So for example, there's known sales throughout the year like Father's Day, like your holiday promotions, where you can get some really nice tools at a much more discounted rate. The other thing is, if you can be patient and if you're at hardware stores frequently, for example, if you're at Home Depot, check the clearance end cap that they have somewhere near the tool section at most of their stores. You can usually get some pretty good deals if you're patient and diligent about going and checking them. Home Depot also does deals of the day. Every day it's a new deal, and usually about once a week they do some power tool deals there, and you can get some pretty good deals there. If you're over at Lowe's and looking for doing some shopping, you can just go ahead and make sure to check their yellow tags because that's going to be their clearance pricing. And if you pay attention to brands and kind of see when those yellow tags start popping up, you can find some really good deals. The thing that I love about tools today is even if you don't have an unlimited budget, you can still get some nice options at just about every price point, especially at this price point we're talking about today. There are good options. Unfortunately, that Black & Decker is just not the good option in my opinion. So go ahead and let me know what you thought of this video down in the comments below. If you have any questions about these tools, leave them down there. And if you have a budget or deeply discounted tool that you'd like me to look at, go ahead and let me know down in the comments below. We'll see what we can do with that. If you like the video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and make sure to turn on the notifications so you get notified when I put out new content. As always, thank you for your support, and until next time, I'll catch you on Tinker with Tools.